Well, here it is, the final video. It's all about concentration, maintaining concentration, keeping focus, and when we can do that as an athlete, we perform at a high standard. So we can talk here about a few things. I'll get straight to the textbook and bring you to the end of this learning. Concentration can be broken into three different parts. There can be the focus on what the relevant environmental cues are. There can be maintaining attention to focus, and there can be having awareness of a situation. Let's break these down. When we focus on the relevant cues, we are using selective attention. So when you go out to the MCG for grand final day, there's a lot of noise from the crowd. You don't want to focus on the noise from the crowd. You don't want to focus on the noise from the opposition. You want to have your attention selected to the noise, auditory-wise, of your teammates and your coach giving you help and assistance. Visually, you want to block out the cheer squad of the opposition behind the goal and just focus on where the goal posts are and ensure that you kick the ball in between those goal posts. So being able to focus on the relevant cues is a form of concentration. One of the next parts to concentration is maintaining focus, and this is the most common one, and it's very hard to maintain concentration and focus for a long period of time. We have lapses in this. Our brain wanders to other things because we're not totally maintaining the attention of an athlete, and this can happen of a long game, like an AFL game for example. An athlete can lose focus in one of those 30 plus minute quarters when there's 4 of them and the game goes for multiple hours. The last part of it is about being able to do the right thing at the right time. So when athletes are able to perform the right thing at the right time, it means that they have concentrated effectively and their brain has been able to make the effective and the correct decision at the right time for optimal performance. So the word concentration and attention are essentially interchangeable here. But when we look at concentration or attention, there's 4 different focuses or lenses that we can actually look at. And the 4 different focuses are these: a broad internal, a broad external, a narrow internal, and a narrow external. Broad internal is focusing on thoughts and feelings. So it's a fast bowler preparing to run into the wicket and bowl. I'll make sense of that in a moment. Broad external is focusing on an opponent's actions, watching them try and make a fast break in a cycling race. Narrow internal is used to focus on thoughts and mentally rehearse upcoming movements like a springboard diver. And narrow external is used to focus on very few external cues, just like focusing on one ball when it's an unopposed chest mark. So broad, am I looking at a range of different things? Narrow, am I looking at one thing? Internal, is this about me and what I'm going to change? Or external, is this about what others are going to do or other things? So in this cycling race, there's a lot of different riders, and it's external because you've got to look at what their decisions are at the same time. For this narrow external one, it is the ball that was coming in to be marked, so the focus is narrowly on that ball, but it's an external item, which is the ball that is making its movement through the air, not you making control of that ball. With the bowler here, the broad refers to you need to look at the wicket, you need to look at the line in which you're allowed to bowl behind the crease, you need to look at where the fielders are placed so that you can try and spin the ball into the right direction. However, it is internal because you are in total control over the movement of that ball and how it's bowled. And for that narrow internal, this person is just focusing on themselves and that board, that is it, and that's just all of what their body is going to do as they bounce onto that springboard. So broad is all about how much external factors are you looking at, narrow, how little, and external is other things or people making movements and decisions. Internal is all about you. What this can actually mean is that if we have the wrong attention focus and aren't able to let things go from past performance errors, we can actually have a decrease in performance. And what we need to do is use that in a positive light and say, okay, I did make this mistake, I know how to fix it, and have a future orientated thinking rather than the narrow-minded sort of thought. In terms of choking, choking is one factor that athletes need to avoid. Choking is when there is a buildup of pressure or perceived pressure, and an athlete does not perform where they're intended or expected to perform. So things like the conditions that lead to choking is that there is an important competition coming up, there's some critical plays within an environment, and an evaluation is coming from the coach's peers or parents. That can lead to potential choking, and the reason why it does is because physically it increases the tension of muscles, the breathing rate, and the racing of the heart rate, which we know how that can fatigue the body, and it can also perform inaccurate movements with the muscle tension. And in terms of your focus, you can end up with a very internal, narrow focus when you might have needed a broader external focus. So in terms of your performance, the timing and coordination can be off, muscle tightness can lead to fatigue, you can rush through movements, and you can look at irrelevant cues like we were talking earlier about what cues to focus on. Maybe you might be focusing just on the crowd, for example, when you could have used mental imagery to help block that out. So how do we improve concentration? There's a range of different things: simulation during training, routines, and overlearning skills. So simulation during training. Quite often you can bring in things like cue or trigger words here. If you hear your coach or teammate saying, follow through, move your feet, relax, relax, and you trigger that word or cue that word with a specific performance or to switch your brain on to concentrating on something, maybe like defense or a specific shot technique, then when that cue or trigger word is used during a game, it can help with that performance and concentration as well. Routines can help as well when it brings structure to the emotional state of the athlete and being able to perform a specific task and adhere to some game plans when in specific situations that might help or might hinder other athletes, and their focus might change to becoming more narrow and internal when it doesn't require it. And when we say overlearning, we're talking about ensuring that athletes are in the autonomous stage, and when they have hit the autonomous stage, they continue to try and learn the skill so that they can actually make decisions under pressure situations, so that that athlete is able to concentrate on the correct cues and make that right decision at the right time. So some different things for a tennis forehand might be determine body position and footwork, decide which part of the court it's going to be played into, decide on the type of forehand to be played, slice, spin or flat, adjust the grip of the racket, take a deep breath, see and feel the ball travelling towards you, watch the ball travel over a net after making contact with your racket. Those are all different things that an athlete can do in the autonomous phase when making decisions and if they are concentrating effectively, and that is how it leads to improved performance. So, focus on the environment, know where your attention should be, and block out irrelevant ones. Keep focused by maintaining it over a long period of time, and situational awareness, being able to evaluate situations, concentrate on opponents and other environmental factors that are necessities, and being able to make the correct decisions under pressure. Congratulations, guys. You've got to the very end of this learning. There's still a lot of hard work to go because there's a lot of marks to be earned in the examination. For me, thank you. I'm sure I'll say this again in person, but I appreciate every person who has asked for feedback, listened, wanted more and more and more, thanked me, and all of those different things, obviously. It's been a pleasure. I'm sorry that a lot of it has been done online rather than in person, but I do hope that some of these video tutorials can be handy to you as you head towards the exam, you complete your audit, and you feel maybe less confident on one or two topics, and you can go back into the YouTube channel and re-watch it and then ask me any specific questions afterwards. I'll see you next week.